Welcome back to the Outliers Project podcast, where I, Molly Hawkins, share my conversations with some inspiring humans who have wisdom to share and stories to tell. These are people who have dared to dream and do life just a little bit differently. For folks who don't know Maria Lovely Daggett, she is a sixth-generation Montanan, which is certainly something you don't hear very often anymore. She grew up in a family of hunters and outfitters, riding horses, spending long days outside, I can only imagine, and learning the land and seasons as really a way of life. We've seen it all in the shows and the movies, but you actually lived it. That kind of legacy, I feel like, is something that really people these days only get to see in movies, the average person, right? And it's really special, and I've gotten to follow you and see how you've been building your career, living your life, and, you became an influencer. It's a funny thing to say out loud, but it's because people really do resonate with what you are living and breathing. There's a reason why Yellowstone was such a popular show. Growing up the way you did, probably taught you a responsibility and a different kind of respect for the land and these wild places that I think for a lot of people, it's just a place you go visit, but it's really a place that you live and breathe. So
we're so happy to have you here. Thanks for coming to visit.
For folks who don't know you, how would you describe Maria Lovely Daggett?
It's tough to put me in a box, and I always go back to it depends on the season. For a long time in the winter, I'd call myself a skier, and in the fall, I'd call myself a hunter, and in the summer, I'd call myself a cowgirl. So I'd say it's always revolving, it's always changing, but I've kind of coined the term a mountain cowgirl, a girl who lives in the mountains and relishes in all the things that they offer, which it's broad. There's been chapters of my life where I've rock climbed and fly fished and hunted horses, all the stuff.
So you and I met a couple years ago working on a ski and snowboard film project. Was that right? The backcountry.com project? Yeah. Okay. Did we meet there?
That was the first time we met. That was that Big Sky, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we stayed in touch, and over the years, we've actually had the chance to work together. And I consider you a friend, first and foremost, a collaborator, and also I live vicariously through you, through your social media. You became an influencer for really just doing what you've done all your life, and you eventually launched Lovely Outdoor Co., which hopefully we could talk about here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's an apparel brand rooted in the values that you grew up in, the Montana way of life. Is that a great way to describe it?
Absolutely. Nailed it.
Okay. Unlike a lot of people who are leaving rural areas and the way of life that they grew up in, I see you kind of moving back to your roots, which I was thinking about our show and what we would talk about. And that was something that, kind of kept coming up. Your life seems to be coming full circle, while in so many of these small rural communities, people are moving to the big cities. Now, have you thought of that?
You couldn't pay me to leave and go live in a big city. I mean, a common thing you see, absolutely. And I understand why. And I think growing up, a lot of us all couldn't wait to get out of that small town, me included. And you felt like you needed to leave and start your own life and all that stuff. And I do think I'm not the only one that at a certain age, you start to open your eyes and you're like, whoa, that was pretty special growing up there. And I think a lot of us, or at least me anyways, gravitate back towards that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think about that. I grew up in a small town, a small community where people cared for each other and looked after each other. And, not that I don't have, or a lot of people don't have that in the big city. It's very different. And I think as people get into child rearing years or, check their boxes, what do you return to? You return to those things that bring you comfort or, that are special to you. And oftentimes that is, how you grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So you started Lovely Outdoor Company as an apparel company, but you're now evolving it to include pack trips, bringing people into the kind of experiences that you grew up with and are still living. And honestly, I couldn't think of anyone better to talk to and take that conversation one step further, and talk a little bit about the tensions that exist between, I think, traditions, the land, your livelihood, and change that we're seeing in these communities. So let's start. Let's talk a little bit about where we're at. If you were to meet somebody who was like, I've never been to Montana, and they had a week to hang out in Montana, and they had a car, where would you send them?
I would say pick a national park. Absolutely. I think you might kill yourself trying to do both. I know a lot of people try and squeeze both of those in, but I definitely recommend going to Yellowstone National Park or Glacier National Park. They're very different, but they're both breathtaking.
Which one would you pick if you had to pick one? I know you're not supposed to pick favorites.
If you want good hiking, stunning, breathtaking views, mountains, lakes, the works, I'd say Glacier. If you're more into seeing wildlife, you want to see buffalo, wolves, that kind of thing, Yellowstone.
Oh, that is a great way to differentiate them. Okay. Talk to me about Lovely Outdoor Company. Where did the idea come from, and where's it going?
I grew up competing in free ride ski competitions, and that led to some sponsorships, which led to social media and posting on social media. And I grew that channel, and I started to work with a lot of brands, which was wonderful. And it inspired me to create something of my own. It started with just some very casual, simple clothing. And I always knew that I wanted to make more of an impact and do more with that. So it has since transitioned into in-person events. This summer, we're hosting a handful of pack trips and taking people into the mountains and sharing these experiences. And it was really founded on the belief that everyone deserves to be in the outdoors and to experience that. And they're the experiences that have shaped me and made me who I am and changed my life for the better. And if I can share some of that with others, it would be really meaningful to me.
Yeah, it feels like Western culture is kind of having a moment.
100%. And it was not always that way.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I got made fun of for the majority of my life for anything Western.
Oh, funny.
I would not wear my cowboy boots to school because I didn't want to get made fun of.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, growing up, I grew up in a small town, farming town, and we had the hicks and the country kids, and very few, and a lot of the kids that grew up on farms wouldn't dress like cowboys and, stuff. But
I was wearing skinny jeans to school back in middle school.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Do you what do you attribute this resurgence of Western culture?
It does blow my mind. I mean, I think a lot of it must be Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And now it's so trendy and everyone wants to be a cowboy.
We'll go back to that here in a second, but outside of just TV and Yellowstone and obviously Western movies have always been a thing, but even music, you see a lot of hip hop artists and cross genre music that I don't know, shabuzi, is that, and I think in that bridge goes both ways. People who weren't listening to country are listening to country. People who weren't listening to maybe hip hop or that, other genres are starting to listen, outside of their genre. So music is becoming a melting pot. I think culturally, maybe just in general, it's been destigmatized a little bit.
I go back and forth. Some days I'm just like, I can't believe this and I don't like this. And then other days I am like, okay, it is cool that this way of life is getting recognized, but I also hope it's getting recognized for the right reasons. And at the end of the day, I'm like, Montana's not just a playground or for people to come and dress up and be cowboy. Like, it's at the end of the day a place where so many families make their living off the land, and there's just like this rich land stewardship and tradition that comes with this way of life. And I encourage those who are interested in it and interested in the Western fashion and all of that to also take the time to visit with people and I'm not saying visit with me, but like with true ranchers and people who their whole entire life revolves around this way of life, and truly understand who they are and the work they're doing and how important that is. Whether it's raising cattle to feed America, or farming, or outfitters and some of that tourism side of things. It's pretty cool. And there's a lot of cool stories there.
Yeah, I know you don't speak for the entire state of Montana, but how does it make you feel? A lot of really beautiful places, a lot of outdoor recreation communities get flooded by outsiders. I think no matter where you go in the country, people talk about the Californians. No offense, Californians. But in Washington and Oregon, they talk about the Californians. Yeah. It's not just you guys. Okay. But how does it feel to see? You kind of just nodded to it. It's got to feel great to be able to share it to an extent, and it's obviously great for your tourism economy. But what is the sentiment?
I think it boils down to there's a fear that people would come in and change it. Mm-hmm. And we love this place. We love our lives and the way they work and the way we work together. And obviously, if people are coming here, it seems like they love it too. So it's just recognizing what makes it special. Why do you love it? And then contributing to that. I think a big thing I hear people say is, wow, everyone's so friendly and everyone's so nice. And yeah, absolutely. We wave when we pass each other in the vehicle. And if somebody's stopped on the side of the road with a flat tire, you'll pull over and help them change it, and you'll help your neighbor out. And those are the things that make the communities in Montana so special. And I don't realize it until I travel and I go elsewhere, and people aren't smiling at each other at the grocery store, or even making eye contact or holding the door for each other. And it feels a lot different than where I grew up. I feel a responsibility to carry myself in a certain way and uphold a certain standard when it comes to, like I just said, the kindness and caring about the land, the animals, advocating for hunters and ranchers, and these things that are very important to me, my family, our state, and doing so in a way that is very approachable and educational and can actually bridge the gap between people who are coming from a very different life, who don't understand the culture and why you brand cattle and how hunting works and all those things that sometimes can appear very gruesome and wrong to someone who doesn't know the why behind it. Montana's not for everyone, and was not for the cast of Yellowstone in the winter, I noticed.
Oh, really? Yeah, tell me about that.
Every season it was like sunny and blue skies and the weather was perfect.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
There's no episodes shot in the snow. So don't be fooled by what you see. It is gorgeous, but it's rugged, it's rural, it's real, and
I like that. I think the new slogan can be "not for everybody." Yeah. I bet everybody's wondering, kind of like me, were the Yellowstone characters, was all the shooting happening here in Montana? Actually,
a lot of it was all in Utah. The majority of the ranching and everything, which Utah, everyone.
Oh my gosh. Utah. Yeah, moved to Utah. Oh my gosh. Wow, crazy. Did you watch Yellowstone?
I did. I was against it in the beginning. I was like, there's no way I'm watching this. And then I did watch it, and now I've watched a lot of Taylor Sheridan spinoffs and everything else.
Yeah.
He does a good job.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
It was fun. It was fun to watch. It was funny. Obviously, the storyline pulls you in. There were things that...
Wait, hold on. You said funny? I don't remember.
I think funny in the sense that he did nail certain things. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a stereotype around barrel racers and when the cowboys go to the bar downtown Bozeman. Like, that often leads to fights. I mean, there are funny stereotypes where I'm just like, oh, he talked to a local and totally played into that. And that's really funny to me that he nailed that. And then there are other scenes where you look at them calving and they're pulling out this big calf that's months old, and oh, somebody's on the wrong side of the fence, let me just clip the barbed wire, like things like that, where you're just like, that would never in a million years happen.
Wow.
Where you're like, okay, you're playing cowboy and you don't quite get how it works. So both sides for sure.
I would love to watch that show with you. It'd probably be a whole different show. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like a lot of us people who didn't necessarily experience that, live and breathe it growing up, probably that. I mean, it was a good kind of a look into what it could be like. But so one thing that I wanted to talk about is the whole scenario with all the money coming in, displacing locals, a lot of the situations where like the Yellowstone Ranch was getting bought up under them. Now, I know your family, you have a rich family history here in Montana, and your family 6 generations ago came in as homesteaders, farmers. Worked in the railroad and eventually became outfitter, guiding outfitter.
That's what my parents did,
Yeah, yeah. So you guys have a rich kind of legacy here in the state now. Have you seen scenarios like that playing out? Like what happened in Yellowstone? Was that
Unfortunately, yes. I have firsthand seen some very ugly scenarios of outside money, and I mean, nobody was getting a package sent to their door with a bomb in it. There was a Hollywood twist, but we've seen some really, really ugly, really sad things, and families lose their ranches and not be able to afford to keep it in their family. And I would assume every small town in Montana has dealt with this in one way or another. Similar situations, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the juxtaposition of growth, and this place is beautiful, obviously, and people want a piece of it. But like you said, it can only sustain so much growth without potentially displacing other people or changing things. Yeah. How has that been for your family over the years?
Oh, it's we've had a roller coaster of our own for sure. But yeah, we do what we can. I joke that I might jump ship and move to Alaska someday. Like, it's too crazy here.
Is Alaska the last frontier? Like,
I think there's enough room. If you're crazy enough to move to Montana, you might not be crazy enough to move to Alaska. So, oh my gosh.
Summers are beautiful up there. Wow. Yeah. Oh man. Well, we won't. Oh gosh, I'll be following along to see where you end up, because you've really sold Montana for me. So, talk about hunting. Yeah. How did you get into hunting? And
so growing up, I was in it. I was 2 weeks old, and my parents put me in a little pack and took me on a horseback ride, and they went out glassing and scouting at literally 2 weeks old. So to say it's been my life and all I've known is an understatement. We had clients who came from all over the world to hunt with us. We did a lot of big game hunting, elk, deer, but also everything else that the state of Montana has to offer. And at 12 years old, I shot my first elk. That was the legal age where you could go hunting. And it felt like forever waiting my turn and actually getting to be old enough. And opening day, I harvested a bull, and shortly after that, we were sitting at the dinner table and I was feeding my family as a 12-year-old girl. And that was a pretty cool feeling. And I mean, we live off of wild game. It's what's in our freezer. It's what we eat year round. I typically eat it 3 times a day. And yeah, just knowing where my food comes from, I guess that's what it led into. Like, now I have this deep appreciation. I'm like, I know where my food comes from. I harvested it myself. Oftentimes we process it ourselves. It's just very hands-on, and I don't know how to say this. That doesn't sound cheesy, but like, you're one with the land, like you're working with the land, you're in it. It's just so it's real, and it's, to me, feels right in a sense, where going to the grocery store and buying some, like, it feels better than doing that.
I think that's got to feel good and something also you can trust.
Yeah.
But also you're only processing as much as you need too. There's that aspect of it to talk about sustainability. That does that ever come into your mind, or do you think about that? Like, think of all of the waste out there, and again, those industrial farms and what's happening with those. It's like,
well, I can tell you, when you work as hard as you have to work to harvest an animal, and you spend days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months trying to fill your tag, and then oftentimes you're in brutal conditions and you're packing this animal out for miles on your back. When you sit down at the dinner table, you are going to eat every bite of meat on that plate. You will not be scraping a piece of it into the trash can. I don't think I've seen anyone in my family ever waste a scrap.
I mean, I have foraged mushrooms, and I have gone clamming. And I think that's the closest probably I've got to harvesting.
And I feel like winter clamming or whatever it is, for me, I just have so much gratitude for a meal. And when I prepare a meal that I also harvested, same with harvesting something from the garden or picking cherries and some fruit off the tree, it just has this special feeling, and you feel more connected with the food you're going to eat. And I'm just like, oh, I just grew this, or this elk gave its life so we can sustain. And you just take that time to really appreciate every bite.
A lot of the things happening in the world and in our politics and in the government, scare me about like what's happening to our public lands. And, does that ever become a conversation for you as, somebody who you're looking at accessing land for your pack trips, for hunting? You obviously, if you're out there fishing, and just in general, this is, I don't know how much land in Montana is public land that you access. Does that ever become a part of the conversation for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I might have a little bit of a hot take on it.
Really?
And
cool.
I so often see people finding their hobby, what they do, and thinking it's right and it's the way they should be, and nobody else should recreate. And you see that with, hikers not wanting dirt bikers there. Forest people, hate dirt bikers. Snowmobilers versus the people who are ski touring. You just see all these people getting mad at each other and coming at each other, and I think it's a distraction from a bigger picture. Like, we need to team up and band together to protect these lands from bigger forces. And I would say I am a master of none, but I have done all of these things. And being somebody who can enjoy the trail on my horse, or hiking if I have to, but also somebody who will go up there on a dirt bike or a snowmobile, I have seen the full circle, and I appreciate that. Oftentimes it's the people on dirt bikes who strap a chainsaw or a saw to their bike, and they go up there and they clear the trail for everyone else. And a lot of DIY hunters hate that there are outfitters out there. Well, I can't tell you how many hours I've spent with a crosscut saw in my hand as a kid clearing trail. We were in the wilderness, so no chainsaws were allowed. So we would bring this big, huge saw and clear just these jigsaw puzzles of trees that fell. And at the end of the day, yes, we have Forest Service employees who are paid to do this, but they are not maintaining the trails. A lot of it falls on the users, and that's something like, we're using it, we can pitch in, absolutely. But we also have to remember It makes me upset to see these public land users coming at each other when we're not each other's enemy.
Absolutely. And that, kind of for me, I've started to see some nods to that being a concern across how ranchers, hunters, conservationists, recreationists are all pitted against each other, while, funding, is getting pulled for, just management of the land. There's definitely parties that would like the land for other uses, a lot of opportunity for development and resource extraction. And they don't want us on there playing with that land. And that's for sure. So I do see quiet strings getting pulled while all of us are fighting. And,
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you fish with a spin rod or you fish with a fly rod.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you're mountain biking, hiking, if the land goes away, it goes away for all of us, hunters, ranchers, whoever. I don't know.
Yeah, I think just shifting that mindset to we are on the same team.
Yeah. And that is one of the things that I get sad for, because, once that land is gone, it's gone. Yeah. Is there a stewardship code for hunters or,
Yeah, well, hunters, especially in the state of Montana, financially support a ton of the conservation. So hunting tags aren't cheap, especially residents get a break, but out-of-state tags are very expensive.
Yeah.
And those funds are allocated towards conservation and all sorts of different things. There's a lot of cool programs you should look into, like duck stamps and things like that. And then there's also just so many great organizations. Wild Sheep Foundation. I think it's the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. RMES. I had to make sure I got it right. National Wild Turkey Foundation. Like, there's all these foundations who are so rooted in protecting these lands, these species, and these foundations are made up of hunters. It's not the opposite. I think some people might expect, if somebody's for protecting elk, they're not going to be hunters. That's the polar opposite of what it is.
You do so many things that others really could only wish that they could do. Your pack trips and, being with horses and out on, wild land in Montana. Hunting, it's something that I've been interested in for a long time. And you're so lucky to have grown up around all of this. And for folks, women especially, interested in hunting or your pack trips, and, being out here, like, what should they know?
Oh, boy. Don't doubt yourself. You're more capable than you think you are. And I also don't think it's too late to start. As you mentioned, I was very lucky to grow up in this lifestyle. I've also seen a lot of people get into hunting, learn how to ride a horse, buy their own ranch and start ranching, having not come from it and having not started at a young age. So I think if it's something that you want to do, follow that feeling and chase it.
For folks interested in getting out on horses, wink, wink, what is the best way for someone who's never been on horses?
Well, of course they should come on a pack trip with me. Horseback riding is so fun. There are also so many different worlds when it comes to horses. There's English riding, there's all the things. I'm going to be partial to what I know, and that's Western riding. We do trail riding. We get deep into the backcountry. On our pack trips, it's a pack trip's a camping trip with horses. So you ride horses in, and then you have a string of horses and mules packing in your gear. So you go in deep. You can go farther than I'm willing to hike, and just really get away and see some super cool country. And you camp, and maybe if you are somewhere where you can fish, mountain lakes, rivers, that kind of thing. And it's just the best way to reset and unplug. So that's my favorite for sure.
So, okay, so you're doing some pack trips. This is your shameless plug, by the way, so go for it. So what kind of pack trips are you offering, and how can people learn about them?
Yeah, absolutely. So for summer 2026, we have a women's retreat. As of yesterday, it filled up and we opened a second one, which it's also full, but we do have a wait list, and I encourage you to just go to our website, lovelyoutdoorcompany.com, and apply, or at least leave us your email. So when we do open up more trips, you have a chance to snag a spot there. We also have a couples trip, and then an outfitter that I'm friends with, I'm kind of helping promote a packers program. So those are for the people who are, maybe they own horses, or maybe they're a hunting guide or want to be a hunting guide, and they're just really needing that knowledge to be able to go into the mountains and do this themselves. So you'll learn everything you need to safely pack and get yourself and horses in the mountains and back out again.
For your women's and your couples pack trips that you're doing, who would be a good fit? Do they need to have experience riding, or?
The biggest thing is you have to be comfortable with a long day in the saddle. And I would encourage you to ride beforehand. I do have definitely a mix of people signed up. Some people have tons of riding experience. Others are very novice. We do have some wonderful, really gentle horses where I'm not afraid of throwing a beginner on them, and I know they're going to do just great. But I think when it comes to packing and that kind of thing, there's also room for people to learn if they are an advanced rider, but they've never seen that world. So yeah, you have to be comfortable with your butt in the saddle and sleeping in the woods.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like every 14-year-old girl's dream.
Right?
At least this 14-year-old girl's dream. I'd love to ask you about your journey with Lyme.
Yeah.
Can you, yeah, for folks who don't know about, where you've been and where you're at, do you mind sharing a little bit of, like, how did you find out that you had Lyme disease?
Yeah. I had these kind of weird episodes when I was a kid where I'd just get this headache and I'd throw up, and then I'd bounce back and I'd be better. And I remember throwing up off the ski lift, and my parents were like, "Oh, are you sick?" I'm like, "No, I feel better. I'm gonna go keep skiing all day long." And kind of like paused for a while, and then in high school it started happening like almost weekly, where I just had this like horrible migraine and it was super nauseous, and doctors couldn't really help. They didn't know what was wrong. They told me I was fine. And then in 2019 things took a turn. My immune system just went down, and this thing, whatever it was, just really flared up. And I went from skiing at a super high level, filming with Warren Miller and TGR, doing some work with them. I was like, I want to be in the TGR movie next. Like, it was kind of the peak of my ski career, to all of a sudden getting winded after walking up a flight of stairs and being so fatigued and just having all these really bizarre symptoms. And we finally, a ton of advocating for myself and fighting and telling doctors, no, something is wrong and we need to figure it out. Got diagnosed with Lyme disease. And my initial thought was like, okay, something's actually wrong. Like, I'm not crazy. And to like, okay, now that we know, we can fix it and I can get on with my life. And then obviously a little bit of fear, but for the most part, I was just like stoked that we had an answer and a solution. And then, oh gosh, I dove into the world of Lyme, and it is mind-boggling how advanced our medicine and our science is, and how behind they are when it comes to Lyme.
Can you, in a nutshell, explain like what you've gone through to try and treat your pain and your situation?
Yeah. I mean, I'll try and keep this kind of quick, but as far as Western medicine goes, the testing is extremely outdated. False negatives are extremely common. So they don't actually even have a good way to diagnose you. And then their only solution for treating you is with antibiotics. And if you catch Lyme when it's in its acute stage, right after you get bit by a tick, absolutely take antibiotics. It's going to do the trick. If you don't, that Lyme bacteria is smart, and it takes over, and it can build biofilms, which are essentially these walls that will protect it. So antibiotics and these other things like can't penetrate the walls, and it can morph, and it can adapt and protect itself. And it's a very, very hard disease to treat because of that. Many people say that late stage Lyme is chronic and is not curable. I spent years in and out of doctors' offices, both in the Western and the holistic world, and have tried many, many treatments, and thought that I might just be sick my whole life. And that was tough, to go from this person who was hucking cliffs and doing backflips on skis to not able to keep my job because I just was too sick to go to work. And that led me to bee venom therapy. I had heard of it earlier on my journey, and I was like, yeah, that sounds crazy. And then I got worse and worse and more desperate to feel good, and discovered bee venom therapy, which is an ancient practice. It's been around forever. And in the Lyme world, it's been amazing. The success stories are incredible, and a lot of people are healing themselves with it. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing now, and it's been quite the journey.
Is it just to manage the conditions, or could it actually cure you?
It will actually cure you. So unlike antibiotics and different herbals and Chinese medicine and different ways that people use to treat the Lyme, the bee venom can penetrate the biofilms, those walls, those barriers. And the Lyme doesn't realize that it's getting attacked. So the Lyme is continuing to like do its thing, and it's not morphing.
So I've watched you on social media and watched you get stung, and I really kind of enjoy it. I clearly have a lot of tattoos. I don't revel in your pain. When I watch you on social media, like I really enjoy it because it's interesting. And you get to see their little legs, and I'm sad for the bees, but also I'm happy for your healing, and but also because I have so many tattoos, and for me, getting tattoos is almost like therapy. So it's weird, the experience I have watching you get stung. But can you describe to people what that process literally is?
My husband helps. He is typically the one stinging me. If he's not around, I'll recruit someone else to give me a hand, just because it is kind of hard to reach. And I have stung myself, but I have to give myself shots too. And in the beginning, it would just kind of make me a little lightheaded, just like inflicting pain on yourself. And I noticed that kind of same, like, woozy feeling when I try and sting myself.
So you are collecting bees that you then tweeze and just force them to sting you.
Yep. So they're in a tweezer, and he just pretty gently places it on my back, and they will sting. And sometimes it's hard to get the first bee to sting. But once that first one goes, there's a pheromone. And that pretty much means like, I'm the bear. I'm getting into the hive. So everyone else is like, we can smell her. We're going to sting her. You could be standing right next to me. You're not going to have that pheromone. So they'll attack me. So then it's pretty quick, usually 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. And yeah. And then we leave them in for a certain amount of time. It's definitely a long journey. I think the fastest I've heard anyone heal with bee venom therapy is 1.5 years, and I sting 3 days a week. Okay. And I started slow. I started with 1 bee just for leaving the stinger in for a couple seconds, and now I'm up to 10 bees leaving those stingers in for a long time. And just getting that full dose of bee venom.
That's so wild.
And it doesn't just work for Lyme. People have used it for MS, ALS. There's studies coming out that it kills breast cancer cells and arthritis. It's really, really, really cool, cool healing modality.
So folks are interested in learning about Lyme or your treatment. It's bee venom therapy.
Bee venom therapy. On that same website, Lovely Outdoor Company, I roughly just put up a quick little blog because I was inundated with people reaching out, and I used to give my phone number and call everyone and say like, hey, this is my journey, and good and bad, I've just reached a ton of people, and I can't keep doing that. So I would say go there, and I have resources with coaches on where to get started. It's not something you just want to willy-nilly go do by yourself.
Amazing. Yeah. And you have on your Instagram a channel that you created also to share your Lyme journey.
Yep. They can find more info there as well.
What's next for you?
Oh, isn't that the $1 million question? I am in awe of where life has led thus far. My husband and I have had many different chapters, and we haven't even been together that long. I was thinking the other day about all the jobs I've worked in my life as a 26-year-old, and it's a long list. Everything from a wildland firefighter to a wrangler to a waitress to working with these brands and marketing, and it's been an incredible ride, and it's crazy to believe that I might just be getting started. So we'll see what's next.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story and talking about your life, and from hunting to horses and skiing. And that's right, you fly as well. You are like living, when people say like living the dream, do you feel like you're really living the dream?
I feel worn out some days, but other days I feel like I'm living the dream.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your dream with us.
Oh, thanks for having me on. And yeah, I appreciate it.